Hi, everybody. Hassan Shariq, regulated Canadian immigration consultant, welcomes you all in our weekly live session on Canadian immigration. My prayers and wishes that all of you, along with your families, are doing really well wherever in the world you are. COVID is sort of not really leaving us easily. Most parts of the world, I see that it's kind of striking back. Here in Canada as well, we are now witnessing the second wave in the province of Ontario. There's rise in numbers, and now with a lot of businesses opening up, schools, institutions opening up. I think things are becoming a little tricky. So let's hope that things move back to normal, because that is really important for all of us, Canadian immigration. Relevant people, the practitioners, you people who are out there looking for various Canadian immigration options. So yeah, my prayer is that things get back to normal. In terms of Canadian immigration itself, things have started moving back towards some normalcy. One of the updates that I wanted to discuss today was with regard to the express entry draw that happened. In a lot of people were of the view that from now onwards there will be alternate draws, wherein one particular draw will be a targeted draw, and then there will be an all-inclusive draw. That was not the case. So this was second all-inclusive draw. On a personal note, I have been of the opinion that now that IRCC did conduct the first all-inclusive draw, after that there will be more and more all-inclusive draws. But with how uncertain the things were, I don't really like to speculate too much. I like to work on facts and figures. And I felt that it was not the right thing to sort of speculate about stuff. So I stopped doing it. But now I again sort of feel that it will be more and more all-inclusive draws. And that's my personal opinion. It can differ. So let's have a quick look at the express entry draw that happened. Just give me a sec, and I'll share the screen with you guys, and we'll have a quick look at how things are looking right now in terms of the express entry. So I will share the screen. Yeah. So here we are. We have official web page of IRCC, where they post about rounds of invitation. What I'll do is that I'll zoom in a bit so it is a little more clear to you guys. Yeah. So this is the draw that I'm referring to, which happened, which was draw number 163, September the 16th. 4,200 invitations. So this is a good trend. Large number of invitations. We've crossed 60,000 invitations for this particular year. And the target for this particular year was set at around close to about 85,000, 80 to 85,000. So we seem to be on track for that. This clearly means that IRCC is going to hit the target that they have for this year for the federal programs, federal skilled migration programs. And with about 3,900 to 4,200 people being invited, every intake, every round of invitations, it clearly seems that we are on track for that. So yeah, good number, and it was good that this was an all-inclusive draw with 4,200. That's why we saw a bit of a dip in the cutoff scores. 3,900, 42 people. This is going to be the average, and it seems likely like that if this is the number, even if it is alternate draws, cutoff CRS will drop in all incoming draws. Looking at the pool itself, I have a different data set where I have the comparisons, but generally, if you look at this, so the overall number is now sort of staying stable at 143, 144,000 applicants in the pool. So this number is staying stable. The reason why it is not decreasing, because we saw that this actually dipped from 150,000 people in this pool to dropping to here. Now with IELTS operations being operational in many parts of the world, more and more people are entering the express entry pool because people are able to sit for IELTS and move forward. ECA processing, now ECA processing is sort of back on track. There are delays, but it is back on track. A lot of countries, the requirements are now that you are only you're supposed to submit your transcripts, official transcripts, through electronic means. Specifically for applicants from Pakistan, because that's a big viewership of mine. Many ECA bodies like CES, University of Toronto, IQAS, they are accepting applications which are HEC attested as uploads only. So you're not required to submit your HEC verified copies sealed in an envelope and sent like that. So that is a reason that more and more ECA applications from Pakistan are now being submitted through IQAS and CES UFT, because you just have to upload your HEC attested originals. So more ECA is being done, more IELTS happening around the world, even domestically here onshore in Canada. The CEC applicants, a good number of them, they are entering the pool now because they're able to do IELTS. They already have their transcript, their diploma certificates. And for those who've had their biometrics done, that's not a requirement as well. So that's why the number of people entering the pool, although we are having intakes of, say, about 3,900 to 4,200 people, the overall number of people in the pool is sort of staying consistent at about 144,000. And I feel that this will stay around this number or increase. Now the likelihood of this dropping down is not so much. Okay. Moving on, the important score range of 451 to 500. This is where a lot of competition is. This is sort of staying stable as well. So 22, 23,000, a fluctuation of few hundred here and there, and that's about it. So again, this is where a large number of applicants, high-scoring applicants are. And that's why we see that the cutoff score is not really moving rapidly, even with frequent draws and large round of invitations as well. With this number staying at around 23,000, so for all of you who review this data sheet every second week, important score range to look at, important number to look at is this number, 23,295, which is for 451 to 500. If this drops anything below this, that will mean that the likelihood of CRS dropping in the upcoming draw is more. If this increases, that's not so much of a good news. And then this important score range of 471 to 480, because we've been seeing that the cutoff is, right now it is standing at about 3,900, which is slightly less than how it was previously. It was close to 4,000, but then again, this is a consistent number. It has been ranging close to 4,000. The higher that this number is after every draw, I would say put it at the 4,000 mark. If it is Above 4,000, the higher it is, the less likely is the CRS cutoff to drop any further. If it is less than 4,000, then the likelihood of CRS cutoff in upcoming draws falling down from where it was in that particular draw is higher. So if it goes down to about 3,000 after any particular draw, you will see the cutoff dropping down even more. So that's with regard to the express entry pool. In terms of what I foresee, again, the issue is that this data is for 14th of September. By the time we move to the next draw, highly likely this will change. But if we forecast on the basis that this is going to stay more or less as it is on the 14th of September, if it is again an all-inclusive draw, now if it will be an all-inclusive draw or a targeted draw, can't really say much on that. My own opinion is that it is going to be more and more all-inclusive draws from now onwards. Even if it's the next draw is a targeted draw and not an all-inclusive draw, we will see a couple of all-inclusive draws after that. So if it is an all-inclusive draw, the likelihood of the scores dropping further if we have 3,900 or 4,200 people is about, again, close to about 3 CRS points. So the drop might be 3 CRS points if it is an all-inclusive draw next time around. If it is not an all-inclusive draw and it is a CEC draw, then I still have to do the detailed maths for that. But I expect the cutoff CRS for CEC then to be close to about 454, 55, 56, where it was in the last draw, the last CEC specific draw, not a lot of drop. And say, for instance, if there is an CC draw and then we have an all-inclusive draw as the next one, then probably the cutoff CRS for all-inclusive draw may not have a dip of about 3 points, but it will have a dip again, and that might be 1 to 2 CRS points, but there will be a dip. So that's how I look at the express entry pool distribution. Okay. Now moving towards our question answer session. I see there are quite a few. So we will start with Megha. One thing I'd greatly appreciate if all of you who are there and who are posting the questions, if you could mention that which country are you from, then that sort of gives a bit of a context, and I can develop some content for you folks. So greatly appreciate if you can mention which country are you viewing this particular session from. Okay, let me move to. So we have Megha, and Megha asks, hello, sir. Hi, Megha. When can I expect ITA with FSW 468? And Megha, I see that you've repeated this question again. There's absolutely no need to, repeat the question. It becomes a little difficult for me to then read all of them and over again. Post a question, and I'll definitely talk about it in the session. So my advice, just post it once. When can I expect ITA with FSW 468? So Megha, in your case, 468, as I mentioned, it will depend as to how frequent all-inclusive draws are. My opinion is there will be more and more frequent. With how it was the express entry draws, the way IRCC was conducting them previously before this particular draw, like alternate draws, my own feeling was, and how competitive the 450 to 500 score range was, my personal opinion changed. Initially, in the beginning of COVID, I had this opinion that FSW cutoff, all-inclusive cutoff, will drop below 470. My original opinion was that it will go close to 465. Then we saw that it was targeted draws, alternate draws, and that's where I felt that now with the alternate draws, it might not fall too much, because we saw a few draws and it wasn't going anything below high 470s, and that's when I felt that up until 470, maybe 469. But now with more frequent all-inclusive draw, I'm of the opinion that it will drop below 470. How much, that is yet to be seen. But I do feel that with a score of 468, you have a good chance this particular year. Now, when will this drop to 468? If we have all-inclusive draws from now onwards, probably every draw will see a drop of around 3 CRS points. Around 3 in the beginning, and then maybe later on around 2 CRS points. So if we go on with this frequency, then most likely in the second draw from now onwards, you have a good possibility. But if it is alternate draws, then we'll sort of have to wait. With 468, I do see a good chance for you this year. Now, depending when is if you're hitting the 30th birthday and when is that you're losing 5 points. But if you have a couple of months before you lose any of the points for your age factor, 468 is a good possibility, Mega. So stay positive on that, and that's all I can say. Amjad Abbasi, I will not put up your comment. That's a personal friend of mine. But thank you very much for saying hello and for the comment. Okay, so Mac, Assalamu alaikum Hassan bhai, wa alaikum assalam. Mac, I don't know what's your original name. The query is, my EC and IELTS are ready and my 3 years work experience is completing on this 28th September. Should I create and transmit my EE profile today or on 28th September? I want to ensure max points. So the way it works is that your experience section in the Express Entry profile asks you for, it's based on month and year. So if it is already 28th September, if it is 28th September that you hit the 3 years mark, it will be calculated as 3 years already. So it's already 19th of September. You can have your profile created. That's absolutely no issue. And this slight bit of difference, that's not an issue, because see, even if you create your Express Entry profile, once you if you do not have 3 years of work experience right now and it happens a few months later, that can be updated. You'll get the points for that at that time. So absolutely no issue. And then you might not, once you create the profile, you might get the ITA maybe 2 months later. And then with ITA, you have like 90 days. So these things are kept into consideration. With 28th September and today being 19th September, you can go on and make your Express Entry profile and put in 3 years of experience over there. Kashif Chaudhary, Canada startup visa is possible without IELTS as well as Ontario business immigration. Kashif, first of all, for startup visa, keep in mind, and what I'll do is that I will share the, if you're looking for Canadian immigration and you want to avoid IELTS, these things don't really work hand in hand. You have to show language proficiency in most cases. And okay. So I have opened up the requirements for, and I will share that, share on the screen, Chrome tab. There you go. So Kashif, this is specifically for you, and this is for most of the listeners, not just this specific program, but others. If you're looking for skilled migration to Canada, like where it leads to permanent residency, you cannot avoid IELTS or language test. Yes, the requirements can vary. If you're looking for some of the competitive federal programs, until unless you have strong language ability proven through IELTS or CILPIP or French language ability, you will not be able to qualify. So if that is the case and you're trying to avoid IELTS somehow, then put it aside. For work permits, a lot of people ask about work permits. Personally, myself and my firm, we do not deal with work permits. Like if you have an employer who's offering you a job offer, or an employer comes directly to us, we do process that and we do a lot of that. But applicants asking that if we can arrange a work permit for them, that's not something that we do. A lot of people charge money for that and they do it. We don't do that. If it is a work permit, that's a temporary visa. You will be working for an employer in Canada for 1 year and 2 years. It's not a permanent residency. It's not the skill migration that a lot of people are looking for with all the rights and benefits. For that, you're not supposed to have IELTS, because that's a work permit. That's a temporary visa. You are being given that temporary visa for the skill set that you have. You will work and then you have to leave. That's how it is. For skill migration, where Canada is going to allow you to live in Canada permanently and be part of Canadian labor force, enjoy all benefits from the Canadian government, they want you to have enough language ability proven through a test that you are able to cope up with the language requirements. You are able to settle well and establish yourself in this society. So there are no shortcuts for that. Put that aside. So I've opened up the startup visa requirements on the Government of Canada website, and for a lot of people, you just go online and you'll find all this data. It's nothing major that you can't really find this. And it clearly says meet the language requirements. So if you want to apply for startup visa, you have to meet language requirements. Yes, it's not as high as Federal Skilled Worker Program, as CEC program, but see, you must meet the minimum language level of CLB5 in either English or French, and only then. And startup visa is not all that easy, because you must have a qualifying business which has had support from venture capitalists and all those people. So it's not all that simple. But then again, just wanted to show to you that if you're looking for business immigration streams, language is a requirement there as well. The second question that you've asked is Ontario business immigration. Now, if you're asking about the entrepreneur program, there is a requirement again. Every province has an entrepreneur program. Some of them would not require IELTS at the beginning, or they require small, like a low level of CLB. But that does not mean that you're not required to have IELTS. IELTS is still required. And again, it's a point-based system. And with business migration, see, there is the requirement of capital, net worth. So it's not as simple. Just to avoid or save yourself from IELTS, if you're looking for that particular reason, you're looking at business immigrations, it might not really work that way as well. That's the reality of it. Okay, so we will move on. And next, it's Mega again. Mazhar Ashmi, Canada immigration through investment. Little guide me. I will guide you. First of all, for a lot of you, I would say that a lot of information is there online. That's a challenge. People don't want to do research on their own, and then they keep repeating the question. So for those of you, and Mazhar, I see that you are following me or putting this question through Facebook. I have a YouTube channel. If you see on the screen, you will see, where would it be? Yeah, somewhere here. Yeah, there. So these are the social media platform details that I have. So I have a YouTube channel, which is, if you just go on YouTube and you type Shariq Immigration, you will get the get to this YouTube channel. And I upload a lot of videos. There is a whole section about business immigration. You can have a look at that. If you say, I can show that as well. So let's leave it. So for all of you who, if you go online, for those who are on Facebook and following me over there, if you go onto YouTube, just type in Shariq Immigration. There's a channel. I upload a lot of videos. There's quite a lot of videos about various topics: skill migration, business immigration. And from now onwards, I will be doing specific videos which will be uploaded like twice a week on different provincial nomination programs, investment, as well as the skill migration. Follow the channel over there and look through different videos, and you'll get specific details. It becomes a little hard to talk about all of these things in this live session. In terms of immigration through investment, there are three important things, Mazhar, and for anybody else who's interested in immigration through investment. I'd say there are two major streams. So one is the provincial streams, which are called the entrepreneur streams. So each province has this stream. The actual requirements vary between province to province. The chances of qualifying in one province to others vary. But in general, you have to first show net worth. Net worth is all the assets that you own in your name and your spouse's name. This can be any kind of assets. So this can be real estate, this can be cash that you have, this can be business capital, agricultural land, any kind of asset that you and your spouse own. Generally speaking, there are slight variations, but generally speaking, you must have a net worth of about $500,000 Canadian dollars, 500,000 Canadian dollars. Second is your business experience. In most cases, you must show proof that you have owned and managed a business in any part of the world for at least about 3 years. The greater the experience is, the more points you will have. You'll have more chances of qualifying. And 3 years is like a minimum in most cases. Also, there is a requirement of how much of ownership you had in that particular business. So you might be the sole owner, or you may have a percentage ownership. It might be a family business or a partnership, general partnership. Again, there are slight variations, but generally you must have an ownership percentage of about 33% in that particular business that you are showing that you've owned and managed. In many cases, it can be 50%. So generally, if you've had 50% of ownership, you are on the safer side. In some cases, it is 33% as well. So that's a second. And third is the amount of investment that you will be doing. Again, as I've been mentioning, there are variations on a provincial basis, but the least that is required is about 150 to 200,000 Canadian dollars. You have to make investment in a business of this amount. It is not that you buy real estate or you only show this money. You have to make investment of about 150,000 Canadian dollars to 200,000 Canadian dollars to be eligible for the provincial entrepreneur programs. And this is the minimum. It is more if you're looking for more options. 150,000 is only applicable for a couple of provinces and then out of their capital cities. Manitoba is one example. Nova Scotia is another example. In most cases, you must be doing an investment of about 300,000 Canadian dollars if you want to have more options for business immigration. So that's how it is. You are supposed to provide complete documentation. This can take time. This can take 12 to 18 months for things to be finalized. You have to submit a business proposal. You are awarded points, just like skill migration, for the amount of work experience you have, the investment that you're proposing, the net worth that you have, your own language ability. It's not required at as high a level as for skilled migration, but yes, language ability is required. Your education, if you're married, the adaptability factors of your spouse also depends. Each of the province, they have their own priority areas. So if your business proposal is relevant to one of those priority areas, there is a good likelihood that it will be selected as well. And then the business plan that you submit, it is reviewed, and then you first get a work permit, like a business work permit, where you move to the province, and you at that stage you sign a business performance agreement where there are certain milestones which are decided. And then once you move to that particular province, then you start following that business performance agreement, and you have to follow certain milestones like establish that business. There is a review process which happens about 12 to 18 months after you've established your business. And if you've been able to fulfill those milestones, all the different checkpoints that was decided, then you're granted permanent residency for that particular province, and then you have the choice as to what you want to do. So that, in a nutshell, is how it is. Minimum 500,000 net worth, investment of about $200,000 or above, and business ownership and management experience about 3 years. One program which is not a stream, but it is like a federal program, is the owner operator LMIA. For that, you do not require all these details, net worth, and all that. The simple thing is that you buy or establish a new business, or buy an existing business in Canada anywhere. You must have majority shareholding in that. It has to be 50% or more in your name. Based on that, you apply for a work permit that you, as the majority shareholder, would want to apply for a work permit as the owner and operator of that particular business. You do that, and you are granted a work permit, and you move to Canada to operate that. Now, based on the job offer from that particular business, and depending what NOC it is, if it is a slightly bigger business, it can be NOC 00, otherwise it can be NOC 0, A, and B. You can gain points for the Federal Skilled Worker Program through job offer, Canadian job offer. So it can be 50 points or 200 points. And if that is not helping you meet the point threshold, once you work for a year, that will be counted as Canadian experience. So, a job offer and Canadian experience, that will add points for your Federal Skilled Worker Program applicant. And that's how it can lead you towards a PR. But you have to first buy or establish a business. And generally speaking, although this can vary, for this purpose, you are looking at investment of about $150,000 or above to buy or establish a business. This is like the minimum threshold. Again, it will depend where you would want to buy that particular business. So Mazhar, I have tried and explained it, not little guide, but quite a bit. I would suggest that you and all others who are on Facebook and would want to get a little more detail about business immigration programs, to subscribe to my YouTube channel and look at the videos that are posted over there. Bharat, I don't know if you're still online or not. I am well, and I hope you're doing well as well. Bharat is one of our regular attendees of this session. And the question that Bharat has, as I am sitting on 472, so anything below this will guarantee me an ITA. And just one more thing, how long does it take to get the invitation after ITA? So once a draw happens, usually it is within 24 hours that people start getting their ITAs in their CIC login, or if you've done it through an RCIC or Canadian immigration lawyer, it goes to them and they can. So it's 24 hours, within 24 hours from the time that a draw happens. So that sort of answers 472. You're in a good position. Hopefully you will be receiving an ITA in next few draws, depending on which draws it is. If it excuse me, If it is an all-inclusive draw, most likely the next draw. If it is not an all-inclusive draw, then the draw that happens afterwards, most likely 472, your score will be hit in that. Engineer Safiullah, dear sir, I have experience in a small construction firm. Will this experience count in immigration? It is a registered firm with government. Safiullah, it doesn't matter if it is a small company or it is a big company, as long as you've been hired by somebody. It can be a sole proprietorship. I have a, say for instance, I have a sole proprietorship and I do construction work and I hire people. I only have, say, 5 or 6 people. Now that doesn't, the composition of the company doesn't matter. It is your experience. You as an engineer can work for like a multinational and can work for an individual as well. As long as you are doing all the duties that are described in the NOC code that you have, you were being paid. The salary can be a small amount, a large amount, and it can be a combination of things, but as long as it was paid and you've put in the required hours of work, like to be full-time, it must be 30 hours per week or more, it is perfectly fine. So if it is a firm, which is a registered firm, experience can be verifiable, perfectly fine. Hope that answers your question, Safiullah. Altaf Hussain, Assalamu alaikum bhai, wa alaikum salam. Altaf again is a regular attendee of the session. I have a CRS score of 472 and missed last FSW due to tie-breaking rule. What do you think about my chance in the next draw? Plus, I will turn to 30 on 30th October. 472, if it is an all-inclusive draw next time around, most likely it will go below 472. If next is a targeted draw and then we have an all-inclusive draw, I again see the CRS point dropping like maybe one CRS point below 472, so 471, 470. So you have a good chance in next couple of draws, Altaf. Good luck with that. Okay. Okay. Bharat has a question, which is not really immigration, but I'll sort of touch upon that. Which city would you recommend to move out of Toronto and Vancouver in terms of work opportunity? But I live in Toronto. I actually live in Mississauga within the Greater Toronto area. So Toronto is amazing. It's your personal choice. Toronto and Vancouver are 2 major cities. There's a lot of there are people from different parts of the world, so you get to have your own community. Definitely job opportunities are there as well, but the cost of living is high. Canada is developed all across. Yes, bigger cities have its own attractions, but you could be based in a smaller city as well. There are quite a lot of opportunities. You could look at Alberta, so Edmonton, Calgary are great places. If you want to live in Ontario, Ottawa is a good place as well. In terms of work opportunities, I'm not really an expert at that. And then it also depends what kind of work would you want to do. You could go to a smaller city, gain some experience early on, and then move to a larger city. So that sort of depends. I would say once you move in, explore your options, and it's a balance. If you are coming with family, maybe you would want to live in a bigger city because you have on your community representation, you have better facilities, you have friends, you have some family. If you're single, you can take the chance and you can move to smaller cities as well. Okay, Cyber Truck AY. Assalamu alaikum, Shariq bro. Wa alaikum assalam. I have a question, please. If NOC mentioned completion of a college or other program in computer science, network administrator, web technology, or related field is usually required under education requirement, can grade 12 or GED acceptable? For most of the NOCs, except if it is a regulated profession, you are not required to fulfill the education requirements. The education requirements that are mentioned over there are generally what is required. If you have genuine work experience and that is verifiable through your experience letters, it's perfectly fine if you do not fulfill the education requirements. In terms of regulated professions, yes, there is a requirement at times, for the reason that if you would want to be licensed, then you require that. But then again, if it is your work experience, your experience letters, which are reviewed for this purpose, so education requirement is not a mandatory thing. Abhishek, if someone hasn't applied to OINP in Feb, then does that mean they won't receive any EOI in future, even if eligible? I am not really able to, but I think, so keep in mind, OINP, if you're asking about their human capital priority stream, where they invite people from outside of Canada, even from within Canada, for tech draws and general draws, there is no requirement for a separate expression of interest. You have to be part of the express entry pool, and within your express entry profile, you have to check your interest. Like there's a question that which province would you want to settle. So there is an option of taking individual provinces. You can take multiple, like you can take 3: Alberta, Ontario, and Saskatchewan maybe. And then there is also an option of all provinces and territories. So you must have Ontario ticked or all ticked, and then they themselves go into the express entry pool and they send out invitations. So it is specific knocks and certain score ranges. There's no requirement of submitting a separate EOI. If you are part of express entry pool, and say for instance in 2 months time they do a draw where they pick your knock and your CRS is within that score range, you will get a notification from their side. There's no need for a separate expression of interest in case of Ontario as well as Alberta. Hope that answers your question. Raja Muzammil Arif, salam brother. Currently, I'm 62 points for provisional nomination with knock 111. What's your thoughts about that? So Muzammil, first of all, this is, and by no means that this is to offend anybody. It's not provisional nomination. This keeps coming so regularly. This is provincial nomination. So just a correction that it is provincial nomination. Okay, so you say you have 62 points. Now, with 62 points, there can be two possibilities. This 100-point grid is first for express entry, so I'm not sure if you're talking about the 100-point grid, but I feel that you are talking about the Saskatchewan grid, where it is a 100-point grid. If it is Saskatchewan, 62 points, the chances are low. They've only invited people with scores of 69 and 70. More recently, they've done for 68 as well. With 62 points, with the current situation as it is, it doesn't seem likely that it will fall down to 62. Previously, about a year ago, it did go as low. I do feel that once things open up, although Saskatchewan has been doing its draws consistently all throughout the COVID situation, there is a likelihood that it will fall below 68 as well. But I don't really feel that it will drop down to about 62. Hope I have been able to answer your question. Muzammil has mentioned that he's from Pakistan. Great. Megha is from India. Mac is from Pakistan. Cheryl Sunny. Hi, sir. Is there any chance for few to come to 450 range? If you're, Cheryl, if you're a FSWP applicant, the score falling down to 450, the chances are very low. I wouldn't really say that. You never know with immigration. If you have a look at the scores for express entry, they were very high in 2016, started dropping down, went as low as 411 or 413. A lot of draws around 420s, then went up, slightly dropped. So these work in balance, and also Canadian immigration, Australian immigration, UK immigration, this is like a same pool. The pool of applicants around the world are same. People are applying. Right now, Australian immigration is as tough as it has been in years. I don't know if my good friend Lavpreet is there today or not. He's received his IT in the recent draw, so he might not be here. But he's based in Australia. That's what he told. He's based in Australia, and he had applied for Canadian immigration from Australia. So a lot of people in Australia who've studied there, have gained some work experience, are now applying for Canadian immigration. So that UK has had some tough policies previously as well. So a lot of people have been applying. Also with US, how the situation was in US, a lot of people who were in US and maybe were on green cards and stuff have started applying for Canadian immigration in recent years. So competition has gone high. Now, if all of a sudden there is some different policies in Australia or UK or US, a lot of people who are part of the pool and are applying for Canadian immigration might start moving towards those destinations, and that might open up opportunities for people with lower scores. So you can never be certain that things will remain the same in terms of immigration, but in near future, 450 is a bit of a long shot. Sorry if I've broken your heart on that, but I like to sort of apprise people of the ground realities. I work on facts and not on just speculation. Mohammed Ozi, that's great news, Ozi. You got invitation. Ozi has been a regular attendee of our sessions. Now, tell me one thing, please. We have a bank statement of my wife, and she has changed her surname after marriage, but her bank account is with the old name. Do you think it's okay? It's never okay like this. Documentation has to. So you either have to explain it through a letter of explanation, or you have to provide affidavit. So you have to provide an affidavit in terms of name change. That will be required. And you'll have to get a letter from the bank that this is the same person, and explain this in letter of explanation. It has to be explained. These things can become a reason for refusal. So Mac has asked a follow-up question, and I'll comment on that. Your score is 471. So Mac, as I mentioned, you can create your profile. Now, the expected draw, we don't know. You could actually create your profile on the 27th, and then you will be part of the pool. And probably the next draw, this happened on 16th, so probably the next will happen on 30th. So you will already be in the pool. So you can't really. If it is 471, then we don't know what will be the tie-breaking rule. So we can't do much about that. We can't predict that. But if it is anything less than that, then you are in the pool and you will have a good chance. Arjun. Hi, Arjun. Hope you're doing great. Arjun is a regular attendee as well. And it's always really good for me to see these familiar names because that's sort of I feel like a connection with all of you who are out there. So Arjun says that hope you and your family are well. They're perfectly fine. It's getting a little chilly here, so we've not really been able to do our outdoor activities so much. I have a 2.5 year. He's just a little above 2 years, 2 years old son. So he's making us crazy these days because can't really do outdoor activities so much. So yeah, but brilliant. The family as well. Thank you for asking. So Arjun says IRCC has recently increased number of ITAs to 4,200. I believe they have a specific target for each year. Does that mean that number of ITA will go down in upcoming draws? We can't really say that, Arjun. Yes, you're right. There is a specific target every year. For this year, it is about 85,000. The number being for federal programs. This fluctuation keeps happening. So we saw a lot of draws with 3,900. There were 4,200 in the beginning of the year as well. So this keeps varying. So I would say that it will range between the 3,900 to 4,200 mark. Um, um, some mathematics that's just in my head. Done. They've now invited something close to about 65,000 people, 65 or 70,000. So we're still on track. If we keep having these regular draws every 2 weeks, the 3 months that we have, we're looking at maybe 6 to 7 more draws. So if we have like 4,000 every draw, that is about what, 24,000. So that's almost at the range. Maybe there might be a few weeks where we might not have these regular draws every 2 weeks. So we're kind of right now on track with that. So Ozzy is asking, what is the time limit? So the processing times these days cannot be predicted. There's huge delays. That's all I can say, because there's a lot of verification and processing that they have to do in the country that you're based in. So expect delays. The normal is that 80% of the applications are supposed to be processed, finalized within 6 months from the time that you submit your PR application. Now, if that will be upheld in current situation, we can't really say. Depending what your experience has been, if you had travel history and all those things, all these things require verification. So your case might need more scrutiny. And at times, depending if your organizations from where you have your work experience, they're well-known organizations, the verification is quick. So it sort of depends. Arjun, it's good to know, Arjun, that we've been talking quite frequently. You're based in Oman. It's a lovely country within the Middle Eastern countries. I've been to Salalah. I've been to Muscat. Very relaxed, very easygoing Arab people over there. So yeah, it's a nice place to be. Moving on. Now, Preet saying how many? We have a few, and we do have about 10 minutes. So I'll be a little quick now. Navpreet, hi Shariq. What are the present timelines for LMIA and thereafter work permit processing from candidates outside Canada? Navpreet, it's taking a lot of time, quite a few months. It depends on case to case basis, but it is taking a few months. It's not that it is not being processed; it is being processed. A lot of outcomes have come for my firm as well, and for a lot of my colleagues who focus on these kind of processings. But it is taking a few months. It can be 3 months, 4 months, up to 5 months. So it is taking a lot of time. Also, they're looking at what is the nature of the work. So if that work is kind of important, essential work, then it is being processed on priority. Otherwise, it is taking a lot of time. Okay, English beat songs, Kula Deepan. Sorry, I tend to mispronounce a lot of names at times. The question is, hello Shariq, how to convert work permit, say temporary one, to PR? There is no direct conversion, my dear. A lot of people even ask that, okay, we want to come to Canada on a visit visa and then convert into PR. That's not how it works. You will have to apply for one of skilled migration streams. Now, if you have a work permit and you have worked in Canada, also depending if you have a work permit and if you have a job offer which fulfills the requirements, you might be able to get points, additional points for express entry, for job offer. And then once you worked in Canada, you get additional points for Canadian work experience. So that will help increase your points for the express entry programs. Depending where you're working, there can be provincial streams. So Ontario has one stream where if you have a job offer, you can apply through PNP. So there are Your options increase if you are in Canada on a work permit or you're being offered a work permit, but there is no direct conversion policy that is there. So this has to be assessed and reviewed. And a lot of times people say that, okay, I am getting a work permit. What are my options? Depending on your profile, it can be assessed at that time, but maybe the actual assessment can only be possible once you worked for about 1 year. And at that time, what streams are open, because streams open and close. See, Ontario, and I've done a video about it. For those who are interested, they can go to the YouTube channel and look for the OINP processing updates. So OINP is coming up with a new system, which is an expression of interest system, where they will be looking at the job offer category that they have. They will be making it a point-based system, so that it's not a first come first serve basis, which has been the case. Rather, they actually allocate points on the basis of the credentials you have, and people can qualify through that. So it will depend as to where you have the best fit. It's not a direct conversion. Muhammad Shamsi, Assalamu alaikum. What is the minimum level of education for student visa if I want to apply for study visa for my daughter? Also, please tell us when borders are opening for visitors from Pakistan. Okay. Shamsi, first, borders, it's not closed for people from specific country. Right now, there is restrictions on all visitors, and I am not in a position, because this is federal government's decision. I can't say when the borders will open. Right now, it doesn't seem likely that it is going to open anytime within next few months, because again, the number of cases have started rising here in Canada. In province of Ontario, we touched 300 mark again, when all across Canada, it went down to about 200 cases in a day. Now we are close to about 600 for, or I think highly, slightly above 600 for the whole of country. So visitors, until it is a necessary requirement for travel, it doesn't seem likely that it is opening up anytime soon. In terms of student visa, and just to give you an example, a lot of kids who were even granted their study permits to start their education this fall term, even they've not been allowed. All universities are doing online studies this intake. Now that is an important need for somebody to travel, but even they were not allowed to travel. In terms of education, so there is no minimum level of education. The minimum level of education actually will depend as to what level of study somebody wants to do in Canada. So if your daughter wants to do, say, university level education, then she must have high school, equivalent of high school from the country that she's, you mentioned that you're from Pakistan. So probably intermediate, FSC, or any A levels, any high school. And also, what is important is the minimum level of education is to be ascertained by the educational institution and not the visa authorities. So say, for instance, if an educational institution has offered you admission into a certain program on the basis of certain education or experience, then that's the responsibility of educational institution to offer you admission. Immigration is not supposed to look at certain requirement for your education. So there's no requirements as such. It will first depend on what level of education you want to do in Canada. So kids come here for high school as well. There are kids who've been placed into boarding schools over here by their parents in middle school, in secondary school. Even that's possible. A large number of kids move to Canada for their studies at university level or college, like after they've completed their year 11, year 12 in the country that they're based in. So hope this answers your question. You have another question. We have to sort of wrap up just a few questions, so I'll be a little quick here. I have 9 years of advertising media experience. My wife has 11 years banking experience. We're both 36 years of age. We do not qualify for any PNP and FSW. What should we do? See, we have to look at quite a lot of factors to do any specific advising. Um, and for specific advising, a lot of people send their queries and stuff. If you want specific advising, I will. There is the email address which is there on the screen, which is info@shariqimmigration.com. You submit your basic details. My staff will do a basic eligibility assessment and let you know where you stand. Now, a lot of people, when we say that you do not have a strong chance, they say that somebody else is saying that they have a good chance. Well, if somebody else is saying that, you have every right to proceed with them. We only give realistic opportunities, and we don't want to sign up people where there's no ray of light at the end of the tunnel. So for basic assessment, you need to send your details on the email address which is provided on the screen. I will repeat, info@shariqimmigration.com. A basic assessment will be done. If you want to discuss your case specifically directly with me, you have to book a paid consultation, because I have to look at a lot of your details and then advise you as an RCIC. So it's not that I can talk to so many people. This whole the purpose of this particular session is that I can still help people have some understanding without charging anything. Otherwise, if you have to take services, you have to pay. So there is a consultation that you could book. These are virtual consultations, 30 to 45-minute sessions. They're charged at 100 Canadian dollars for a consultation session. You provide all your details, and then we have a one-on-one session where I can tell you what are your chances, as well as if you do not really have strong chances, so that then you do not waste your money, and then you do not get fooled by a lot of consultants based in different parts of the world who are not RCICs or Canadian immigration lawyers and not authorized, and they just sign you up based on your basic eligibility. So if you would want to have case-specific advising, you can book a consultation session by submitting an email on the same email address. It is a 30 to 45-minute virtual session directly with myself, where I advise you specifically on your case. Generally, in terms of Shamsi, your profile, depending on what education you have, because education is important as well. With this much of experience, the only possibility that I'll see is Saskatchewan, where probably if you're 36 years of age, you'll meet eligibility, but you will be losing points for age. So you will stand, depending on what your IELTS is, what your qualification is, you will stand at around, I'd say 67 points. And if the scores drop, then there is a possibility. Otherwise, for you, you might look at the option of applying for study in Canada, and then that can be a way towards permanent residency later on. A lot of times, if you go to people, they'll say that you have a study gap. Now, I would like to clear that there's no legal term as a study gap. If you've been working since your last qualification, that is technically not a gap. Here in Canada and most parts of the world, a lot of people do their undergraduate degree and then start working. They don't do their masters up until they've done 4, 5, 6 years of work. That's more of a subcontinent South Asian thing, that you do your bachelor's and right away you do your master's. So there's absolutely nothing as a study gap if you've been working. So if you are applying for a program which is relevant to your experience, your past background, there's absolutely no issue applying it after a gap of few years from your last degree. So that can be a possibility as well. And then lastly, there is the possibility of establishing a business in Canada and qualifying for Canadian permanent residency through that. But for that, I've already mentioned in the earlier part of the video, you can watch that later. I provided some details. You must be looking at investment of at least around 150 to 200,000 Canadian dollars, and some other requirements as well. So do watch the video from the beginning once it's uploaded, and you'll have more details. On my YouTube channel, there is a video specifically about business immigration options. It gives a brief overview of the various options that are there and the broad requirements. So for those of you who are interested, do follow that. How to okay. Cyber attack saying thank you. You're welcome. Stay blessed yourself as well. Raja Muzammil, yes, we talked about Saskatchewan. With Saskatchewan, as I mentioned already, 62 points. Not a very strong chance. So depending on what your credentials are, if you could improve on IELTS, that will increase your chances. One thing that I'd like to advise here is that for a lot of people who get their ECA done through WES, at times they're not able to get ECA for a master's, but they get it for 2 bachelor's degrees. Now, if you're applying for Saskatchewan, you get points either for a bachelor's or for a master's. So you lose a lot of points over there. In federal skilled worker program, the point difference between 2 and more degrees and master's is not so much. So if you have an ECA done where you have a master's, but most likely it is WES who usually count it as 2 bachelor's degrees, you're losing points. You might consider having a new ECA done by some other body, which will grant you a master's assessment, and then that will increase your points for Saskatchewan. So that's one way. Hafsa, hello, I've been watching your video, but I am new. I have one question. What is the best time to create profile with reference to draw? Secondly, any website to apply for jobs during this process? Hafsa, there's no good time. You make your profile, create your express entry profile, and then it becomes live for like 12 months from that time. So it's not that every draw different profiles are picked. So the express entry pool is there. You make your profile, and then once it is live, for all upcoming draws in next 12 months, your profile will be eligible. So it's not that you have to create your profile and then there is a draw and then you have to create a profile again. No, it will be live for 12 months. And once it expires in 12 months, say for instance, you can make it again. There's no cost to that. Job hunting, I'm not a recruitment professional, so I can't really help with you with that, but I know that a lot of people have used LinkedIn paid services and connected with recruiters, so you could do that. Bharat saying thank you. Bharat, you're most welcome. Hafsa has a question. What is the best place to live in Canada with respect to work opportunities? Again, Canada is a developed country. Wherever you go, small town, big towns, there are work opportunities. It will depend on individual circumstances. I live in the Greater Toronto area, in the city of Mississauga. I love this place. So I can't really say what is one best place. Again, it depends on your profession as well. And then a few balances. Bigger cities definitely have more work opportunities, but there's more competition. The cost of living is higher. Sometimes you would want to live where you have your own community. So bigger cities have a large population of immigrants. So you'll find your own community. Smaller towns, you might not be able. So it's a balance. But you have job opportunities all across Canada. It's a developed country, so that's not an issue. Shamsi, you mentioned Pakistan. Mac, thank you so much, Hassan Bhai. Stay blessed yourself, Mac. Tanveer Rembo, any chance coming draw 468 score? I've already talked about that, so you could watch the video from the beginning. 468 in the next possible draw, even if it's an all-inclusive draw, not most likely, but I do feel that 468 will have a chance in this year now. Fair enough. I have about 2 to 3 comments or questions, and then I'll see. So, Azmat, hi. What is the minimum requirements of IELTS score? Azmat, you haven't mentioned that. For what are you asking? What is your opinion? First, I need to complete IELTS before making profile. Azmat, you need to, because you posted this question from Facebook, so that means you're on Facebook. I would recommend and If you look on the screen now, there are it's right over here. The social media links, IDs for various of my social medias. I have a YouTube channel. So for those of you who are watching on Facebook, follow my YouTube channel. Just put in Shariq Immigration on YouTube and you'll be able to find this and subscribe. There's a lot of videos that are there. I would recommend for those who are watching for the first time, Facebook viewers who have these basic queries, watch these videos that I've put up there, and I do constantly upload videos, and you'll get to know about the basics. Coming towards your questions, Azmat, now minimum requirements of IELTS vary depending on what program you're applying for. If you're looking at Express Entry, you are supposed to have CLB 7 in all modules, which is like 6 in all modules. So I've provide videos in details. Watch those videos, you'll get. Each program has a minimum requirement. Generally, these days, you are supposed to have, like if you're looking at Express Entry Federal Skilled Worker Program, you're supposed to have 8 in listening and 7 in all other programs. So this is the level of IELTS that you're not create Express Entry profile if you do not have IELTS result and ECA done. So for anybody who wants to become part of Express Entry pool, 2 things that you require are IELTS score, which is at least 6 in each, and ECA. So that's the starting process. Perfect. So Hafsa, thank you so much for Diva. You're welcome, Hafsa. With that, I will be ending the session for today. It's always great to answer your questions and queries. Because there are people from Facebook as well as YouTube. For those who are on Facebook, I would highly recommend subscribing to the YouTube channel. I post regular videos. By watching those videos, you can have specific information for various programs, and you have to do your research. For those of you who would want to, for some people who've got ITAs and they want that kind of help, or who are watching for the first time, I'm an RCIC regulated Canadian immigration consultant. So as per Canadian laws, I am authorized by Government of Canada to advise and represent immigration cases based here in the city of Toronto. If you want case-specific advising, you can send an email to my staff and have an appointment done. If you share your detailed CV, we are able to do a basic assessment and let you know. For many of you who are confused about their options, it is a good way to book a virtual appointment. For that, as I mentioned, you submit an email. It is a 30 to 45 minute one-on-one virtual session between the client and myself, where I review all the details and I suggest that what are the opportunities available, and if you do not have strong possibilities with you, so that then you have clear direction. And if, say, for instance, you have these opportunities, then actually tell you that what different streams you are eligible, how to sort of increase your points and stuff for that. And if you would then want to proceed with using our full services for your case, what we do is that if you've signed up for a paid consultation with us, that money is adjustable towards that. Definitely, with the volume of queries that we get, it's not possible for myself or my immigration advising staff to sort of do one-on-one sessions with everybody, and also provide a very detailed assessment to everybody on that. So that's how you go about that. With that, I would like to end the session. Thank you to all of you who watched today's session or who do watch the sessions regularly. Stay blessed, stay safe wherever you are. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and always remember me in your prayers. It's good to connect with all of you. It's good to answer your questions and queries. Enjoy your time. Till the next time that we meet, take very good care of yourself.